182 people were killed in drunk driving crashes in Wisconsin in 2023. That's 31% of all traffic deaths in the state. Well, today, families and safety advocates are urging Wisconsin lawmakers to strengthen the state's ignition interlock device law. WMTV's Tabitha Bland joins us now with more on how this legislation would work to prevent repeat OWIs.
Well, those interlock devices are small smartphone-sized devices that are put in vehicles to stop them from starting if alcohol is detected on the driver's breath. This is a demonstration of that device that you're seeing right now. Wisconsin's current law only applies to repeat offenders, first offenders with a high blood alcohol content, or those who refuse a breath test. The proposed law would only allow people to drive sooner after their first offense, but with a mandatory installation of that interlock device. It would also extend the time on the device for people who try to tamper with it. Caitlin Thomas was killed by a drunk driver in 2021. And now her parents are speaking out for this legislation change.
So in May, she graduated from high school. In June, she turned 18. 14 days later, she lost her life to a wrong-way drunk driver on I-39.
It didn't have to happen. It's preventable. And anything you can do to help support.
Now, public hearings in 2025 and in 2026 have gained a lot of support, including families and groups like Mothers Against Drunk Driving, AAA Wisconsin, and the National Safety Council. Live in the newsroom, Tabitha Bland, WMTV 15 News.
Tabitha, thank you. The bill is working its way through the legislative process with supporters hoping it passes in the current session.